My name's Dazed, Overstand, sort of Black Ocean with Spart, Center Left, Pompeii, The Paint, SFS, all sort of way too many fucking projects to name, but yeah, it's pretty much me. Ages ago, like 10 years ago, I was in a crew called Dazed and Flawless. We did a gig up in Sydney with the Lookup Boys, and Pompeii's crew, Grand Architects, were playing at the gig as well. Pretty much after the gig, we sort of just, had a few drinks and sort of we all realised we were on the same page. Literally a week afterwards, started sending them beats for their album, which sort of just fizzled apart just because of sort of crew politics and stuff. So both of us were like, cool, let's do something. And pretty much it's just gone from there. It's just, just like a good working relationship and tight friendship. So we're both on the same page, both musically and like on sort of life sort of steez. So yeah, it works out. Yeah. When I'm making a beat for Pompeii, there is a sort of different approach, just because he sort of has he's got a certain vibe that he sort of likes. So when I hear a sample, I automatically know that it's going to be for him. I sort of I've got a vague idea what sort of flow and sort of pocket he'll fit into. So I'll sort of, match the drums to sort of fit around that, as opposed to just sort of default drums or whatever the case may be. A lot of the time, I'll just send him a loop and I'll let him actually do all the structuring, because sometimes he likes having, a 4-bar verse and then like an 8-bar breakdown and stuff like that. And then once I've got the vocals, then I'll actually rearrange everything after that. So it's a bit more, it's more of a song as opposed to your standard 16, hook 16 and so forth. Yeah. As a producer and an MC, I guess when I make music for myself, there is a slightly different approach. More, for me to actually, I guess I've always seen myself more as a producer first. So for me to actually sort of get that inspiration to do some writing, it really takes a lot, as opposed to the actual beat and hearing that sample, to really sort of spark that sort of creative spark in my head or whatever the case may be. But generally, if it's the case that I make a beat and all of a sudden I start hearing, little flows and patterns in my head, I know that that's for me. I won't even bother about sort of, just making a beat for either the Slash or someone else. Generally all the other ones where, still a dope beat, dope sample and stuff like that, that then goes to, little kitty for everything else. But, if I get that little thing in my head and that little sort of, sort of catch that little sort of spirit, then I know that that's mine. And yeah, after that, I'll generally just sort of play around with the flow and then actually structure the drums around my flow, as opposed to making the beat first and writing. I'll sort of do everything sort of going back and forth towards most things, yeah. So yeah, with drums, obviously, it depends on, the sample, what direction I want to take it. A lot of the time, I prefer to program drums myself, just because it gives you a bit more freedom. Obviously, get to sort of layer and things like that as well. If I do sort of chop up a break, which I haven't really sort of looped up a break for a beat in a while. If I do, obviously I'll probably re-sequence it a little bit, but generally straight programming, after, however so many years of making beats, I've got like a nice enough collection of drums that I'm happy that sort of suit what sound I'm sort of looking for. So in terms of, taking that, like the approach of, having programmed drums as opposed to breaks and things like that, I think I've always had that approach, just because the very first, I started making beats on like Fruity Loops ages ago, and with that, it's on a computer, you've got a hard drive, you've got the flexibility to have however many drums that fit on, as opposed to, working off floppy disks and stuff like that, which I went to for a while, but I prefer the freedom of having everything there at my disposal. And also I'm pretty impatient. I don't like loading on disc and disc and disc. So there's been plenty of times where I've made beats and then something's frozen up, and you always try to sort of in your head sort of revert back to, okay, cool, where did the drums sit, where did this and that go, and that's a pretty frustrating sort of thing. But I think there's been there's definitely been times where I've done that, but then once I've sort of learned to let it go, I've ended up making things a lot better, just because it's one of those things, it's like it's done and dusted. There's no use trying to get it back sometimes. It's like, oh, it happened for a reason, maybe, who knows. In terms of funny stories with sessions, probably one that I could probably think of recently is, so like Sparks and myself been working on this album, Black Ocean, for 3 years now. It's sort of, both, life got in the way for both of us. He wrote it, some things changed in his life, rewrote it. I lost some beats, I remade the beats, this and that. And he hadn't come around, I hadn't seen him for about 6 months just because we're both busy. Literally, I sent him a beat, and he's like, yeah, cool, I dig it. Literally like 3 weeks later out of the blue, calls me up, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm at home. He's like, I'm outside your house. Knocks on the door, comes in, literally just goes, set up the mic. He's wasted as fuck. Spits his 16 and then leaves. I'm just like, rightio, good to see you, man. But yeah, killed it. Future releases. In terms of my own stuff, myself and Mol1 have a little sort of 7-inch that's been finished for a while, but that's due for release early next year. Pompey and myself are doing a prequel to Shift, and another project called The Paint, where it's pretty much the both of us rapping. I haven't really rapped for a while, and it's really just sort of, in terms of the production, it's much more stripped back. It's literally all loops, no change ups. It's got a break beat, and we're both just pretty much just shit talking over 5-6 tracks. It's about stupid shit like fucking how clean our shoes are and stuff like that. But it was a bit of fun, and it was good to sort of get back into writing with a less sort of serious sort of tone, because I've always been very much like a heart in the sleeve sort of rapper, and it was nice to just let it go and just talk about fucking popping bottles and doing stupid shit. So that should be coming out real soon. So that's called The Paint, and his crew Center Left just finished their album off. Just got mixed by Fame, so it should be out by the end of the year. So that's like some 13-man posse stage, so that should be good. In terms of releasing music, I think, nowadays the internet and social media has made things so much easier, because, anyone can make something and chuck it up on SoundCloud. Whether that's counted as a release or not, that's a different story, you know what I mean? But I think, it's good that there are people still doing, vinyl releases. It's dope that everyone that does vinyl releases, I'm pretty sure the majority have a download card, so, you've automatically got that download. You don't have to fucking rip it or find a fucking torrent or some shit like that. I think there's a good balance of people understanding that it's 2015 and, shit's changed. But at the same time, realizing where we've come from or where music's come from, so still, I guess, having, a foot on each side. It's good. Yeah, I think it's important because, we all grew up listening, buying vinyl and this and that, and if we don't do it, then the kids that listen to us or whatever like that, they don't have that memory of fucking, going, oh shit, this record's coming out, I'm gonna fucking get this, and if that continuation doesn't happen, then it stops, and who knows what happens after that. So yeah, I think there definitely is a degree of importance for live shows. Obviously, it's always nice to, see someone live and have that sort of personal interaction. Whether it's that important, I guess, maybe, good album launch and stuff like that's good, but I don't know, I think that, it can sort of get a bit tiring just sort of seeing the same thing every so often. To be honest, I've started, I've seeing sort of, bands and after seeing bands and big sort of rock shows and stuff like that, where the stage show is actually a spectacle as opposed to a guy walking back and forth on a 4-meter stage. Sometimes you go, well, is it better? A lot of the times, I've seen a lot of artists who I fucking love listening to their music, and live it's fucking horrible. So if you can do it well, do it. But I definitely think it's important. I think if people can sort of really start to actually make the show performance, whether it be actually having a DJ doing cuts or shit's being banged out live, and they learn to actually sort of really interact with their surroundings as opposed to just standing there, that'd be good. But it's important, but I don't think that it's necessarily like something that you have to do. Some people don't, like there's probably heaps of artists out there that, are amazing, recorded, but they may not feel comfortable sort of, in front of large people. So let them do that, So yeah, definitely the advent of technology is sort of helping, the production game step up a lot. I used to be your standard sort of, just sort of sample only. And I still do that, but after a while, sometimes you've got a beat and you go, cool, I want to add some strings to it, whatever like that. Normally you have to sort of search for some strings, whereas nowadays I can just load up Contact and there's strings that sound fucking amazing. And when I had my MPC beforehand, I used to sample in the MPC, the VSTs, chop it up. But now, with Machine or the Renaissance and stuff like that, you can still have your sampled beat, but then go, cool, I want strings, I want an orchestra, I want like a Rhodes, little chord thing here and there. It makes things so much easier. And plugins, who has the money for a Neve desk? Like none of us do. And you can get it and make your drums pop and do that. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with technology at all. Like it took me a while to figure that out and sort of get over, I guess, a degree of like stubbornness, but it's there to be used. As I said, it's 2015. Like get with the times a little bit. I think my MPC got stolen. I lent it to a friend of mine because she was getting into beats. So I was like, cool, she had a machine, so I'm like, cool, borrow the MPC for a bit. Picked it up, drove home, and I've got like secure parking. Got home about like 2-3 in the morning. And I was like, oh cool, I'll just leave it in there. Everything's secure. In that time between 3 and 7 in the morning, someone obviously drove home into the car park as well, but forgot to close the door. Someone came in, took my MPC in the flight case. First thing I ever really properly made beats on, saved up for like a year, like 2 years for it. So yeah, the MPC's got a whole bunch of residue. The pads are dirty as fuck. It's been murdered out, except the pads are still all grey. So yeah, if anyone sees it, that shit's mine. And yeah, karma's coming for you. In terms of the other equipment, so yeah, I've pretty much had the MPC 2500s pretty much since it came out. That would have been what, like just over maybe like 10 years ago by now, I think. So I've been using that. That was literally my mainstay forever. Last year I bought the Machine Studio just because I sort of just wanted to sort of change up the way I made beats a bit. I guess beats was I was just going on autopilot, and I wanted to sort of free up a little sort of bit of creative sort of zone in my head and learn something else. And like I was saying before, in terms of having VSTs and stuff like that, implementing and making actual sort of big musical things as opposed to just sampling, it worked really well. With the ASR, with the ASR X, I had an ASR 10 for a while, and the biggest regret I ever made my whole life was selling that thing. Why I did that, I have no fucking idea. So yeah, Discourse had the X, so I copped that off him. I've made a few beats on it. I need to really sort of sit down and go, okay, cool, I'm gonna, sit down and relearn this for a while, but there's plenty of time for that. But yeah, pretty much the main thing now is just the Machine Studio. That's pretty much the workhorse of that, and complete with everything on it, and yeah, pretty much how I roll. I've definitely got a record I always go back to. I won't say the name, but it's just like a old anime soundtrack, and it's got everything that I need on it. It's got sound effects, it's got little stabs, it's got ill little loops, and yeah, I bought a copy. I've seen it a few other places. So I've bought those ones as well. So no one's touching that. Thanks to everyone for firstly watching and listening, supporting the music. There's definitely a lot more music coming soon. So you can cop that on www.theoverstand.com. Pretty much we've got all our releases there. There'll be a whole much more vinyl, tapes, and all that sort of shit coming. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled on the internets.